gives it up, light side, nothing heavy about it. That guy was my hero, by the way, when I was growing up. I always wanted a house like that and asked my mom and dad. I said, will I be able to do something like that? And they said, of course, yes. Both of them big liars, as you can see. Let's go. Bitcoin. You know, there's no word in the English language that has caused so much controversy over the last few years. In fact, 10 years. It came out in 2009, as far as I can remember. When you mention that word, when you say Bitcoin, you immediately divide the room into two opposing, fighting, arguing camps. You know, on one side, you have people yelling at each other and saliva falling all over the place. And the other side will probably fall asleep. Bitcoin is like that. No matter what it is, there's always conflict. And there's also age difference too. You know, on one side, you always have older people, grown-up people, people like bankers, government officials and regulators, and old school economists, or geriatrics like me, or maybe Ahmet Bey as well. Oh, yes, of course. We just graduated last year, haven't we? And we argue that this whole thing, the cryptocurrency madness, is just that, madness. You know, it's a scam, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a bubble waiting to be burst, or it's a threat to establishment. That's what we think, all the grown-up people. On the other side, you have young, aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe like you here, thinking and speaking an entirely different language. These are smart kids normally. And in fact, I have a new name now. I can call you those. You're called cypherpunk. Have you heard about this? It's actually, it's not degrading, is it? It's nice to be called cypherpunk. They speak a different language, like what you've been talking about only recently, like hash cash or hash rate or smart contracts or proof of work, decentralization, blockchain, and everything. And there's entirely new terminology there. As an older person, I've just worked my way up to letter B in the alphabet, trying to learn what B2B is. That's all new to us. These guys, the cypherpunk, way down in letter P, they're talking about P2Ps, you know, peer-to-peers. I'm sure you have covered these issues here as well. And then when I go down to Ps, learning what an IPO is, whoosh, they're back up to ICOs. And in fact, I've just learned that there is an IBO, initial bounty offering. It's getting sexier and sexier every day. They have also invented their own Olympic sport too, hackathon. And they constantly get hacked. And when they get hacked, they also swear in style. You know, our swearing is worse. The cypherpunk swears totally in style. They go, what the fork? All the time, especially when they get hacked. Can I get my ledger back? But, of course, we're talking about Bitcoin. It's serious stuff. The entire world is trading. I'm sure you guys are trading as well, right? Is there anybody here who's buying and selling Bitcoin? Yes. Did you make any money? No?
You wouldn't be sitting here.
No. No, he knows my middle name is 5%. That's why. Okay. It's expensive. It's valuable. It's $4,000. It's a lot of money, right? But as older people, I just can't convince myself to spend my hard-earned $4,000 for a cyber digital thing that I don't know that exists. Let me put it this way. Let's assume that we have $4,000 free lying around here and we all have that money. Why don't we just go out and spend that $4,000 by buying 3 of these 20-foot containers, used. We get the 3 here. We wash them, we clean it, we put on display, and we put a sign on it saying that it's for rent for $100. So immediately you have $300 per month, right? That's guaranteed income. And in fact, in 13 months, you will have recovered your initial investment as well. And then let's assume that next year we buy 3 more, and then 3 more every year. So by the end of the 5th year, you have $18,000 annual income guaranteed from rent. And then you still own the 15 containers, which are worth $20,000. So you can sell the business for 50, 70, maybe $100,000. Right? I think that makes more sense to me rather than buying Bitcoin. See, but you don't like it. These guys don't like it because they're cypherpunk. You know why? Because it's work. And it's brick and mortar, it's metal, it's containers. You know, you want to go up above there in the cloud. We'll come back to that word again. It's all cyber. It doesn't involve any work. It's just creating cash out of thin air. That's what I'd like to do, but that's not how we learned it. The only way I know is by working here. But it doesn't matter which camp we belong to. We have all become seasoned chartists and technical analysts over the last few years, watching this incredible development of the Bitcoin price chart. You're all familiar with this price chart, right? Especially you. Yeah. Look at what happened to it. And I deliberately used the word witnessed because we didn't really participate. You know, if we did, we all came in somewhere here or here or here, if not here. Don't tell me that you joined here because I can see it, all the volume is here. Nobody here joined there. Okay. I know one person is not here. But there's a peculiar point on this chart. When we come to that point, strange things happen in the world. Very strange. Everybody you know, whom you thought is logical, rational, calm, collected, when it comes to that point, they start exhibiting this very weird behavior. And that point, of course, is right there. 17th of December, 2017, when the price hit $19,500. And everybody goes berserk there. Everybody's thinking billions and billions. And a strange thing happens. My son comes out of his room on that date. You don't know this guy. This guy doesn't come out of his room. You know, he only comes out if he's very hungry or if he needs money. On that date, he comes out and he starts slowly walking towards me. That's unusual, you know, it's eerie. And he starts asking me some weird questions on December 17th. That first question was, Dad, how much is electricity? I said, since when have you been interested in the cost of things that you're using in this house? You know? That's strange. And then I said, why are you asking? I said, oh, never mind, and disappeared. And I know the little bastard was planning to do Bitcoin mining back in there, and I'm paying for all the electricity, right? And then he pops out the second question. He said, Dad, where does Tesla keep their cloud? Is it Amazon or Google? And you know, I kind of stumbled because, you know, we older people, when you use words like cloud, you know, we tend to look at the weather report or something. You know, we're not really familiar with all that stuff. And then he senses my utter and complete ignorance about the fact. So he tries to test my geography knowledge. And he asks, Dad, what happened to Silk Road? Oh, I was so happy with that question because I know the answer. I can give him a lecture, you know, I was just all ready. But before I gave him a lecture, he gave me a website. Are you familiar with Silk Road? Look at that one. 3.5 grams of albino rhino. 12, that's like $50,000. That shit's gotta be good, okay? $50,000, 3.5 grams, we'll be really flying with that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to ridicule cryptocurrencies or anything. It's just that I'm having difficulty in explaining things to people around me. It is very, very difficult to explain. I don't know if you understand anything from what Ahmet Bey is babbling about here, but I can't really explain anything to people around me. One of those people is Isadora. She's about 200 years old. She's my landlord. She's a lovely, lovely, cute lady. You know, she's seen it all. She's survived through 2 world wars. She's seen countless coup attempts and governments and elections. She's killed 4 husbands already, but she's a great, great lady. Now, how do I explain that to Isadora? And let's go back to 17th of December. If somebody like your son, who never comes out of his room, comes out, or if somebody like Isadora, or somebody like your mother, or the shoe shine guy at the train station, or the barber, or the driver comes to you on a date like 17th of December and asks you about the markets, okay, you know that they are sitting right at the precipice there. You know it's time to sell. Okay, let me tell you why. Because if the news that the Bitcoin market is a good place to be has reached these people, you know that there's nobody else left to buy that stuff, right? It's the neighbor's cat. There's nobody left. So it was time on 17th of December. Nevertheless, she shows up. She lives upstairs. She comes down, knocks on the door, Isadora, walks in, puts her hands on the waist like that, and she goes, now, you little shit, explain me what Bitcoin is. It's difficult. And I said, Isadora, I'm not the right person to do that. Well, let me call my son for you. So Mike comes out for the second time that day. And I said, Oliver, can you please explain Auntie Isadora what Bitcoin is? And yes, little shit he is. Look what he says. He said something like mumbling. Of course, she doesn't understand anything. She says, I'm not an astronaut, put it in layman's terms. So this time my son tries to be more clear with his language, and he goes, it is an open source synergistic flow matrix. And of course, Isadora goes, what language are you speaking? Don't give me that. So I have to step in. He goes back in. I said, Isadora, let me explain as much as I can. To be able to understand Bitcoin, you have to understand money, right? It's just like money. And we use money every day, every minute. Girls use money to plant hair on their eyebrows. And some other girls use money to remove hair from other parts. And we boys, we use money to impress those girls who constantly add and remove hair from their parts. But it's a very important thing. It's money, right? It's just an IOU, okay? All these IOUs started way back in the history of finance, like I owe you 3 cows, okay? And in the evolution of finance, some smart people started trading these IOUs without the cows. Cows could stay home. And then some other smart guys came and they started lending out 2 of the cows of the 3 that they never had to begin with. And I don't know if you did some banking courses because that's called fractional reserve cow system, but let's not get into that right now. Did you do fractional reserve banking here? You didn't yet. Okay, that's the subject for you. Let's go back to this. And in the history of money, all currency was backed by something, cows, goats, and salt, or shells, or sometimes daughters and everything, but always it was backed by something. Yes, daughters. Our money was backed by gold all the time, until the time a very honest American president came. His name was Nixon. 1971, he took the dollars off the gold standard, and it became fiat currency. What we call fiat currency is basically this. It's just a piece of paper with no backing. It's got no value. It's no intrinsic value. It's just worth what you believe it's worth. That's what we call fiat currency. Right now, all currencies are fiat currencies. But dollar became very strong. And I really went through and did my research. And I found one plausible reason why it's so strong. Do you know? Maybe guess it. You're getting closer. Bravo, because they have big guns. Bravo. Yes, big guns. And in fact, everybody is supposed to be using dollars, right? Anybody who can't or who refuses to use, look what happened to them. Saddam, Gaddafi, Osama, because of the big guns. And just because of that reason, the guy who invented Bitcoin never really revealed his identity. He probably was scared of the big guns there. Yeah. And the greatest secrets of today, I have to list them for you, is of course who invented Bitcoin, or how many shoe boxes of Bitcoins you can have in your house. Or again, I'm always perplexed. How do they calculate inflation? That's another secret of today. But I'm still talking to Isadora now. I'm trying to explain it to her. What is Bitcoin? So I have to explain her that this is all digital. You know, it's not something that you can handle. So she's asking me, okay, I can't caress it, I can't kiss it, I can't smell it. There's no picture of Washington on it. There's no picture of the Queen on it. So what is it? Is it just digital? What do you mean? I said, it's just computer. It's just numbers in the computer. So she says, what am I going to do now when I go shopping? Will I have to have a computer in my bag? But of course, she's way behind her time because we're all carrying computers in our bags. That's exactly what she was doing too. But that got her thinking. She said, well, if I had Bitcoins, will I be able to spend those Bitcoins to buy my groceries from the supermarket? Whew, that was a great question. I thought I was reaching her. I said, of course, Isadora. In fact, somebody way back in 2010, on May 22nd, bought this. You know how much? It was $41 then. It's the world's most expensive pizza today. In fact, May 22nd is still celebrated as the World Bitcoin Pizza Day right now for $40 million, right? Isadora, she loves her burgers. We have a Burger King downstairs. She's thinking now. She says, can I buy my burgers with Bitcoins? You know, I was just hoping that I was getting into her, but this is a bad question because the answer was yes, you can buy your burgers, but only if you're willing to pay $6 of transaction fees and wait 2 hours for the clearance. You know, you'll be dead by then, especially somebody who's 200 years old. In fact, Burger King in Russia launched their own cryptocurrency, which was called Whopper Coin in 2017. So every ruble you spent in a Russian Burger King, you would get a certain number of Whopper coins to your purse, wallet. Yeah, they never gender discriminated there in the Bitcoin people. Yeah, cypherpunk are really peaceful people. So after you accumulate a certain number of Whopper coins, you can swap them with a Whopper burger, or you can sell them in the Whopper coin market. But there was no joy there because it started at 14 cents and disappeared after that, like most of the list that you have shown. Then, getting back to Isadora, Isadora is an angel. You know, she's never sinned in her life. She's so pure, so clean. I sincerely believe that when she dies, she's going to go straight to heaven. She says, well, I heard that Bitcoin is used for bad things. I said, hang on there now, Isadora. You can do more bad things with your cash. I've tried it. I said, I went on internet to buy some drugs. Some of that rhino stuff, because I don't do drugs, but you know, I wanted to mute out the yelling in the house. I couldn't buy it. Then I wanted to buy a Kalashnikov because this time I decided to kill my wife. You know, then I wanted to buy a fake Rolex. Still couldn't do it. The reason why I was looking for a fake Rolex because I'm too chicken to kill anybody. So maybe a Rolex would soothe things out. But everywhere I went, forget about this Bitcoin stuff. They want cash for this. Everywhere you go. So that is proof that cash is more evil than Bitcoin. So she's thinking, she's kind of getting relaxed this time. And decides finally that she wants Bitcoins. I said, yes, you're contemporary right now. But she says, take me to my bank. I'm gonna get some Bitcoins. I said, no, Isadora, stop there. You know, you don't get your Bitcoins from a bank. She said, no, I won't give any money to an obscure person on the internet. I want to do it properly at the bank where I trust. I said, okay, I'll take you to the bank. So she goes to the bank. She sits in front of the bank manager. She says, I want to buy some Bitcoins and I want to put them in my bank account. The bank manager's response was a bit more peculiar. And that's exactly how he looked. He, of course, tried to dissuade her. You know, don't buy that. It's a bad market. It's unregulated. There are lots of scams there. They're going to steal your money and everything. And we know why, right? But Isadora was smart. You know, all these scams and they're going to steal your money. Price changes every minute. There are no guarantees. Isadora immediately said, well, how is that different from you guys? or the stock market. It's exactly the same thing, isn't it? But of course, he has a different agenda, the bank manager. He said, if you do that, I won't be able to charge you anything. That's the essence of Bitcoin, because the whole banking industry is threatened by this right now. That relationship is epitomized by two words. One is tulips, the other one is regulation. If you analyze these two words, you will know what I mean. See, us older people, we messed up big time. We did wars, we killed people, we polluted the world, we created global warming, we drew lines on the sand and divided the world into 180 parts and made everybody hate each other and everything. But younger people are much more principled, even the cypherpunk. They like forests, they like environment, they like animals, they like flowers all. But there's one flower that they don't like, and that's tulips. Can you guess why? Because tulips are associated with tulip mania, bubbles, scams. They don't want this crypto madness to become a scam or a bubble. They're threatened by this. On the other side, when you go to the bankers, when was the last time you heard the banker talking about regulation or asking for regulation? See, everything is topsy-turvy right now. Bankers are asking for regulation. They want the crypto bazaar to be heavily regulated. Banks traditionally hated regulation, but now they want regulation. See, both parts are being threatened right now. Cypherpunk and bankers. Of course, Isadora is watching today's subject, and she calls them incredibly crooked organisms. You can see from those that lists. She thinks all white papers look like this. I actually share that view with her. Because if you look at what's coming in the market right now, remember the list that Amit Bey gave you just recently? It looks like some of those ICOs are coming from Disneyland. Most of them are Mickey Mouse, and let's visit some of those things. You've seen this at the top of your list. My numbers don't match with yours, but let me come to that a little later. These guys, oh, okay, I'm making up as well, so don't worry. They'll take anything. These guys claim that they have built this platform where there won't be any transaction charges, and it will handle millions and billions of transactions per second. It all sounds nice and noble, right? But what for? I couldn't find that. There is no end product. It's just conceptual and code. In fact, I read some of that stuff. In the beginning of the white paper, it says, this paper is for information purposes only. Okay, fine, I'm fine with that. Block One, which is the owning company, does not guarantee the accuracy of or the conclusions reached here. I mean, in English, it says everything we do might be wrong, so we don't care. That's what it's saying. If you keep reading the white paper, it also says these tokens do not have any rights, any uses or purpose. So why are you giving me money? How do I explain this to Isadora? I can't even explain it to myself. It all reminds me of another bubble. Remember this? Let me take you to London of those times. This smart guy comes up. He says, I need to build a ship and I need to put a crew on it. And I want to go to all the uncharted territories of this world and rob the indigenous people from their people for slavery, their spices, their gold, and their silver. I'm going to take them to London and sell them for a profit. But he needs financing. So that was the world's first IPO. He wanted partners. Everybody invested in it. He got a ship. He went there, killed everybody, brought all the gold and silver and the slaves and sold it for a huge profit. Everybody got rich. So people smelled blood. And then there were more IPOs, more IPOs, more IPOs. There were hundreds of ships sailing abroad. It got so ridiculous towards the end, and this, I'm not bullshitting this time, this is in the coffers of Bank of England. One of the prospectuses of these IPOs says this: I am IPOing this because we want to go to a secret country at a secret time to bring a secret product at a profit, and people poured in money for it. That's exactly what's happening right now. It's no different. And we know how a bubble ends. That's how it ended there too. These guys, I call them Delicious Smoke, because they've collected, my number is they've collected in 9 months, $1.5 billion. It took Facebook 7 years to raise $1 billion. Uber, 5 years. It took $1.5 billion. Their market cap right now is $4 billion. It was something like 17 a year ago. Look at that. You mentioned the rating company. Okay, I own a rating company right now. Okay, I sell Delicious Smoke as well, but my market cap is nowhere near this. It's a fraction of this. $4 billion for something that does not have a product. And most of these ICOs are there like that. Another one, if you come across to this one, CryptoKitties. With your Ethereums, that's hard-earned cash. You're buying, you know what? Pictures of cats. They're like Pokemon cards. The highest price paid so far is $140,000. You buy a picture and you breed it. Does this make any sense? Can you explain it to your mother? Take Isadora. Cats lay eggs as well. And we humans are bad, you know. We don't like people around us succeeding if we are not succeeding. Following Ethereum's success, it forked into 2 chains in itself. It became Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. And then they started infighting again and came up with this one. You never know, by next Wednesday, maybe we'll have 3 classics there. You mentioned this one too. I am so naive, you know. The first time I saw this, I was reading it as Dog E coin, you know. I'm being contemporary, like email, e-commerce, I know this shit. Apparently it's Doge coin. Some Aussie guy came up with this as a joke. He changed the font of Bitcoin and put a dog behind it. But look at the numbers. I don't know what it does. I have no idea what it does. This is brilliant. Of course, it's used by smoking people, right? But what's brilliant about it is what they did. Let me get back to this. These guys have sponsored, they have so much money, they have sponsored NASDAQ race cars. And then at one stage, I think it was 2 years ago, they sent the Jamaican bobsled team to Winter Olympics. It's thinking out of the box, isn't it? That's why they're making money. I mean, imagine, take 4 pot-smoking, beach-dwelling Rastas with dreadlock hair and put them in a box and slide them down an icy chute. Brilliant. That's why they're making money. And these guys, you know who they sponsored? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
You're close. Does anybody recognize this guy? Dennis Rodman. For those of you who don't know, he was the teammate of Michael Jordan in Chicago Bulls. He's world famous. He was a good basketball player, but he's famous with his smoking as well. He was the bad boy. That's why he was a celebrity. But I didn't get the connection. I mean, what they did was they sponsored this guy and sent him to North Korea. Potcoin did. Millions of dollars. What is the connection there? So I had to call my son again. I said, what's the deal here? And he said, you know, these cypherpunks, they have words like duh. I said, okay, duh, what? He said, he's a celebrity because he's got cannabis tattooed all over. He's the world's most famous pot smoker, that's why. I said, okay, I get that. But why North Korea? He said, duh. I said, what duh? He said, do you remember the Elton John song? Rocket Man, I'm gonna get high, high. It's gonna take a long, long time to touch down. And he's getting high, okay? I said, okay, Potcoin, Dennis Rodman, cannabis tattoo. I'm gonna get high, high, fine. But why North Korea? He said, duh. I said, why duh? He said, well, Rocket Man. I said, what? Aha, Rocket Man. Who's the Rocket Man? Kim Jong-un, right? Isn't that brilliant? This is why these guys are making money. It's gonna take a long time, you know? Rocket Man, amazing. And let's get to Maduro. We've talked about that. He claimed, of course, the country is going down big time, right? So this is his only savior. He comes up with this wacko idea that somebody's going to give him money for that. And he claims that he's collected $735 million on the day of the IPO. It's unbelievable. Does anybody know what the inflation rate of Venezuela is today? It's 2.7 million%. They owe $141 billion to the international finance markets and they're not paying. So who in their right mind would pay a penny for a wacko currency of a country that doesn't pay its debts and it's in hyperinflation? It's not even called hyper, 2.7, it's inconceivable. And also, what he said was they were going to keep 18% of the proceeds in the central bank. Now, I thought this whole thing was about decentralization. In the central bank, I call it centralized decentralization. LGD, look at that number, that's what they've collected. You know what it gave you? It gave you a VIP membership to a Las Vegas strip club. It doesn't exist anymore. Gone in that list. Look at the numbers there. But it's still there, it's still alive. Another one, really smart. This kid came up with this. And the white paper says only 250,000 coins will be mined over the next 300 years. So it will be very difficult to obtain it. It will be the rarest coin ever. But look at the numbers. 3 million at some stage. I have tits too. Nobody's giving me money for them. We've talked about that. They've collected $300,000 before disappearing. Nice logo. Of course, she doesn't get it. I don't get it. People with hair don't get it. Where is he? What do you think? Maybe he might be here, you know, you never know. But I'm begging him to come out, if that's him. Just take us out of the hole that he dug into in the first place. We don't know where this is all going. I'm not talking about blockchain. See, blockchain is here to stay. It will probably change our lives and the way we do business, all right. But I'm not so sure about all these cryptocurrencies and the ICOs. Maybe you know, all these Bitcoins and Titcoins and Trump coins and Doge coins and everything, maybe we won't even remember their names in 5 years' time. I'm not so sure. But we are humans. You are human. We love to speculate. We are cypherpunk. You know, as long as there's something to speculate and we can create cash from the air there, buy, sell, we will be there. And some of us will be successful. One of those guys is this. Has anybody heard of him? Eric Finman. He's a high school dropout. When he was 12 years old, his grandma, on his birthday, gives him $1,000. What does he do? Goes out and buys 403 Bitcoins and makes $4 million. Forget high school, now he's showing the finger to college as well. And I don't blame him. But what a grandma. My grandma gave me this. It's fake. She blew it. You can have it, it's all yours. Because you're in the market. That's it. Maybe you can follow up on this, Ahmed Bey. All right, thank you. Whew.